Community Heart Media. Your voice, your heart, your opportunity. Welcome to tonight's show.
Hey, well. It's, I think we're all on, and it's there's no technical issues here. So it's another Wednesday night on Community Heart Radio, and we're excited about tonight. We've got one of our favourite people on the show tonight, so we're very excited about having Katinda on the show. But Julio and Kelly, great to see you. Kelly, how's your week going? And good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too. Yeah, my week has been good. I'm going to apologise now if my voice sounds a bit husky. Apparently, I've done something to my vocal cords, so I'm like, maybe I should be not talking so much. So that's a new one for me.
You are a social person, too many friends, too many things, places to go. So you're talking non-stop, so no wonder your voice is gone. And Julio, how's your voice tonight?
My voice is good. I haven't gone too many places and I haven't been yelling like Kelly or talking too much. So just keeping to myself and just managing the weekend.
Well, it's great. As I said, it's a very special night. We've got one of our favourite guests on. Katinda, lovely to see you, looking amazing. And thanks for joining us on the show.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure to be here.
It's fantastic. And how have you been? You haven't been on the show for a while, and but it's great to see you here.
I've been really well. I think, as I said before, we're all breathing, and that's the benchmark. Everything else is obviously easy because we're here. We're alive.
Well, that's right. It's breathing. It's 2023, and we're very excited about this year. Although, can you believe, Katinda, it's actually February?
Well, it sounds like COVID was just the other day, and already we're in February. And I don't think, if we just snap our fingers, it's December again. So it's really like we all have to be present and enjoy the experiences of whatever life is throwing at us right now.
100%.
So, Katinda, for our guests that don't know you, I mean, many know you, of course, but for those that don't know, just maybe do an introduction to yourself. Who is Katinda?
Who's Katinda? In a nutshell, Katinda is an author, a speaker, community influencer. I am a founder and co-creator of the Confidence and Self-Esteem Academy, where we help people with all sorts of things, especially taboo subjects that nobody wants to talk about. And relationships, I think, is one of them, which we'll be talking about today. So basically, what I want to say in this conversation today is I help people find the hidden treasures of love within themselves by coaching and online programs, which means it's a roadmap to success for your relationships.
Wow.
How does that sound, Kel? Does that sound something that would interest you?
It certainly does, and I'm keen to hear from all our listeners out there if that's something that interests them. My question is, Katinda, how did you come up with that? When you say the whole, what would you do when you want to grow up? And you suddenly are like, right, I'm a published author and I've developed this relationship course.
It wasn't. It's called, what is the word? Evolution. We're always constantly evolving. So this was not something that I knew I was going to do. I didn't even think I could be an author. I didn't think I could be speaking. I didn't even think I could be doing what we're doing right now. This was not, this is all accidental passion that we already have in us. It's all within us. But until you've got the space and place to express it, and then you get better at it and you realize, oh my gosh, I really love this. And the point is, it's impact. Is it helping somebody? Is somebody's life getting better because I'm speaking about something that maybe they were not aware of? So it's all about touching lives, making impact, and making the world a better place.
Love it.
Well, we're hoping tonight we're going to impact some people. We've got two great customers here. You've got Kelly and Julio. So we've got two customers tonight that we're going to help. They need a lot of help, and we're going to help them tonight.
We've also got Mr. Mark Watt as well, so don't forget.
Yeah, well, look, and look, you've got Chris Vincent. He's looking forward to connecting with you as well. I'm sure he could learn a couple of tips off you there, Katinda. And so where are we going to start tonight, Katinda? Where do you want to start?
Well, let's just go straight into relationships, because I was thinking I just wanted to ask 3 questions for the viewers as a thing to think about, but then I wasn't going to go into that depth. So what I wanted to ask the viewers today, even ourselves, even myself, I ask myself this question all the time. So it's just 3 questions.
Before we get going, we have got 2 examples of people we can ask questions to today. So we can get Kelly, for instance, and Julio. If we're going to do a bit of an audit, We've got two people that are very keen to be involved. They love participation.
We love it, Katinda, how Mark puts us under the bus. One day I'm going to go.
That's it. That's it.
He's volunteering, you guys.
That's
It's
right.
just us here, so don't worry about what you ask them. Anything's up for grabs, all right? So let's just put that down.
Okay,
let's just go to the deep end of the pool.
Okay, so the first three questions, and this you don't have to answer. This is for yourself to ponder and think about and reflect on. And I would suggest before you go to sleep tonight, try and answer those questions just as a way to start this journey off for yourself. So the first one is, when you look at your bank account, is it where you want it to be?
Oh, that's a good question. Hey, let's just hold it there, Katinda. Let's just hold it there, because that is a very good question. If you look at your bank account, is it where you want to be? Now, Kelly, what would you say? I mean, I know you've got a big bank account, but is it big enough?
Well, my thought isn't about the bank account. It's more about what it can help me to achieve. Do you see what I'm saying? So it's more sort of thinking around, and we've got a guest coming on in a few weeks in terms of housing and mortgage rates and deposit, where I'm going, is it going to be possible on a single income at the moment? I will add that at the moment, to be buying a first home with with what I've got. No, it's not. So it's not about what the bank account, but it's like what I'm working towards. You see what I mean?
The good old Kelly Schweiz, it adds another depth to it. Now, Julio's got so much in the bank, he's got to have 3 accounts. So, so Julio, in your 3 accounts, have you got enough in there, mate?
Do I have enough in my 3 accounts for what I want to do or for what I want to achieve? Probably for what I want to do, no. For what I want to achieve, probably yes. So, yeah.
All right. Now, Coach Katinda, what do you make of those 2 responses?
Well, they're actually quite good because they're comfortable. They're not struggling so much, but still, that doesn't mean...
they're on easy street. There's no doubt about it. Yeah. People like myself and Chris here, we're down there with the plebs. We're in the outer. These guys are up the members, having the scones and the cream.
Okay. So the second question, when you look at your love life, is it where you want it to be?
Oh,
Kelly.
Okay. Now we're getting somewhere.
No, let's start with you, Mark.
Yes. Let's do it, please. Let's do it.
Yeah, no, I'm very content with where I am in my life, Katinda. Very content. Very good. What about you, Kel? What about you?
Life. No. Your love life.
Yeah, that's what I said. My love life. Very content with where I am in my life. And what about you, Kelly? What would you say to that?
Oh, honey, no, I've been bridesmaid 5 times. I know what I want on my wedding. I just got to find the man.
Okay, all right. What about you, Julio? We'll get on to Julio first. Julio, what would be your answer to that question?
My answer to the question is a bit complicated, I think, for me. I've got 2 parts of my love life. The love life of like my family and my kids and what they've got them. So to them, yes, I am where I want to be, but I wouldn't mind being in a better position. And then with my personal one, as in finding a partner and all the rest of it, that's a bit more complicated. I think I'm still searching for the right avenue there. So see how I'm going.
How are you going, Katinda? How you go with your? How would you answer that question, Katinda?
Well, I think I'm on a good path. I think because what has happened is being on a journey where I'm teaching people how to be on this relationship journey and what they need to look out for. I had to be the example of that, because sometimes when you preach what you don't practice, it's really not in alignment. And the reason this came up for me is because I was going through my journey and I was like, wow, there's a time I was attracting love. I don't call it finding love. I call it attracting love, which is your time that it's all about you getting yourself together, investing in yourself, becoming a better human being. And until you're that person, you can't be out there looking. You know why? Because you're not happy with you. And that will come in the conversations. I've got a few questions that will lead to that in the process.
So can I just clarify? You can have a great love life and be happy where you are, but single.
No, I'm not single.
Oh, no. Okay.
So definitely not. That's what I'm saying. My journey is really nice right now. It's in a really nice space.
All right. So you can't be happy with your love life and be single then?
Well, you can be, because that's love for self. If you go back to self, you can be. Some people are single by choice. Not everybody is single because of anything. Nowadays, people are single by choice because It's what they want. So
Mm.
it's not what the community or the society expects. Oh, you're single, you're 40, you're single. What's wrong with you? No. Doesn't work. It's not other people's expectations. It's about yourself. Wherever you feel happiest, that's where you settle.
Really, really good point. Listeners, viewers, what do you think about some of those questions that Katinda's asked so far? Chris, feel free to put a comment up or anything that you're thinking off the top of your head.
Hard questions.
Yeah, very hard questions.
Okay, so the last question here before we move on is then when you look at your health, this is the most important one. And I say health is your wealth. If you don't have health, I guess you got nothing. So when you look at your health, is it where you want it to be?
Well, even I'm happy to answer that one. I've got a big health program this year. So I told the viewers, I think last week, I'm going to lose some weight, get a bit more flexible and fit.
How's it going, mate?
Three things. Well, we haven't quite started yet, but we're getting there. All right, we're just about to start. We can see the starting line, and we're heading towards that. What about you, Kel? How would you answer that question?
Some ways, yes, very, very on top of it. In some ways, no.
Yeah.
Okay. What's the some ways yes and the some ways no? Can you unpack that a bit?
Some ways, yes. In terms of, like you said, you want to get fit, healthy, everything like that. Yes. In some ways, no, where other things have come up. And so you're like, oh, okay, that's thrown me a curveball.
Yeah. What about you, Julio? Where are you up to, mate?
Where am I up to? Basically, I think I'm starting back onto the track of where I was a couple of years ago. So just like to say now that I'm looking at going on the Pig and Whistle. So Mark knows about this event that's going to happen very soon. And that's riding for charity and putting in my 80Ks in on the bike. So back to the bike and training. And today, very sore legs from Sunday still. So still
Good
going
on
from
you,
there.
Julio.
Well done.
And Chris has been very good tonight. He's he's got to make a few changes like the rest of us.
Yeah.
Not
What
really
about
making
unpacking that a bit further for us, Chris, or any of the other viewers and listeners out there? Very keen to hear.
Okay. So can we dive into the topic now?
100%.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so we're going to be talking about the relationship journey. And what that is about is the first stage, which is attracting love, which is yourself. How do you love yourself? What are you doing for you? How are you investing in yourself? What are some things, have you checked your self-esteem? Do you need to improve on that? There's just a few things we'll talk about. And then the next one will be, while you're in a relationship, what is it you need to do to grow together in that relationship to make sure everything is healthy? And then obviously the last one is the end of the road. When you reach that end where you realize this is not for you, how do you finish this respectfully with dignity? Because a lot of times that is always the hardest part. A lot of people don't have dignity when it gets to the end. Everybody goes a little bit wild. So it's just going to be those three aspects of the beginning before you're with anyone, while you're in the journey, and how to end that journey to move on to the next level. And so
is this relationships with, say, for future or current partners, or is this relationships with previous or children or anyone else?
This specific is partners.
Okay.
Yeah, specifically partners, because they're the closest people. Basically, the truth is, did you know that the quality of your relationship determines the quality of your life? So a lot of people, we don't pay attention to that. Who you choose for a partner infects your life in a very big way. And that's why you find if somebody's doing so well in a business, for example, and they have started going through divorce, everything just changes. There's no way, because emotionally you're not stable. And when you're not getting the support, there's no way you can function 100% the way you normally do. So just for those listening, your relationships, choose wisely. I know it's not easy because we never get it all right, but just remember your relationship, the quality of your relationship determines the quality of your life. And so
Really
I just want to, yes, go ahead.
Really, really good point that you made there.
Yeah. Okay. So this is for people, obviously, at this stage, I'm going to say if you're happily single and want to attract a partner or you're in a relationship, today's show is for you. Because what's going to happen is if you're single, you'll get some tips of what you can do to find that other person. If you're in a relationship, it's more about what can you do to strengthen your relationship, to grow, to make it strong, and to feel like yes, you've got somebody who's got your back. So what I like to do here is start with, again, 4 questions about relationships. And this is about everybody who's single. Even if you're in a relationship, you can ask this question to yourself. And the first question is, what is the purpose of your relationship? Or what do you want to get? Why do you want to get into a relationship? So these are some of the really important things. So people just hook up and then they've got misaligned, intentions. What's the intention? Do you want to have fun? Do you want a companion? Do you want security? Do you want to get married? What's going on there? And a lot of people don't communicate those things from the day go. And then when things change, people get upset. They feel like they were lied to and everything, but you didn't ask the question. You didn't have the conversation. So then what is the purpose of your relationship? For example, if I ask you, Kelly, if you were to get into a relationship, what would be your purpose for it?
To get married.
Okay.
Yeah. There you go.
We're keen to hear from our listeners as well. So if you're listening, feel free to make a comment. Katinda's asking a lot of questions tonight, so feel free to answer some of them. It'd be great to hear from you guys on 98.9 Northwest FM. Get onto our Facebook page and you can watch us through the live stream on Community Heart Radio tonight. So it's great having you around, Katinda. What was your purpose when you got into your relationship?
For me, I think being thinking about being a Christian and all these things, a relationship, I feel like I need to be in a relationship in the path of getting married, not just to waste time and do nothing else happening. Because it's almost like, what's the purpose of it? What do I want out of it? As you get older, the fun part is out. In the beginning, maybe when you're younger, it's for hard fun to get some experience in life. But as you get older, once you're over 40, you want something permanent. You don't want, not knowing what's going on. So for me, it's definitely the end goal is marriage. And it's not a guarantee, but that is the goal.
I think Chris has been dominating tonight, but I think Chris wants to go back one step and wants to know your top tip for choosing the right person, because you did make a comment, choosing the right person is really important. Have you got any clues on how you actually find that right person?
That is coming. It's
coming.
Okay,
yes.
That's coming.
Yeah,
So getting the purpose, Julio, you got a bit of purpose there, mate?
Me at the moment, privacy relationship at the moment, no. I think I'm at stage 1 with Katinda's idea, which is basically finding my own, settling into my own self and my own life. I think that's important first before pretty much bringing anybody into a relationship. I think it's fair if I don't do that first.
That's true. What about Mark? What about you?
Yeah.
Yes, purpose. I think companion and friendship is keen for me. Friendship is really important.
Yeah. Well, they say you have to be friends first before you can be lovers, because then if you skip the stage, you miss to get to know someone really well. Yeah. Okay. So the next one is, I like to get people to think about this one. So this is about, would you go on a date by yourself, Kelly?
Yeah. Why not?
Okay.
Yeah.
What? Just out by herself, just Kelly alone, or
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm sort of thinking.
You, I, and yourself.
All 3 of them.
Yes.
And I'm talking like going to the movies or even going to dinner. Just things that you people do with other people. Could you actually just get up and go, I'm taking myself on a date?
Yeah.
Yeah. I used to do it quite often. I probably stopped it as much as I used to, but yeah, I've got no problems with that.
Wow, that's very amazing. Mark, what about you?
Not as good as the single dates. Have a few of them at home, but probably don't go to them. I've never been to the movies by myself. Have you ever been to the movies by yourself, Kel? Or
No,
I've never been to the movies by
I'm sort of
myself.
thinking, okay, maybe. Yeah, I mean, I could, or you get lunch.
No, but have you? Not could you, but have you been on a date by yourself?
No,
I would say no. You'd say, I think you're like me, Kel. I don't think you'd be a great dater by yourself. And Julio, what do you think? You've gone out to a movie by yourself, Julio?
I have to admit, I have quite a few. So
Okay.
I like doing things by myself sometimes. I like stepping out and just being in my own space.
Yes,
This time
for me, I love it. I even go to concerts. Like if I went online and saw a concert, I'll just book it and just go.
Really?
No.
I
Wow.
don't even think
Wow.
twice about it. Just get up
Yeah.
and go.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's just,
Mhm.
I think it's just what you get used to. But I think it's a good thing. That goes back to self-love. How do you manage yourself as a person before another person comes into you? And it's basically, you don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. So it's again working in yourself, being able to be confident enough to do those kind of things. And the third question, how did you deal with your emotions and feelings growing up? Now, this question is about checking in with yourself because, again, it's about emotional maturity. You know, how well do you handle rejection? You know, things like that. Because a lot of people, if you haven't worked on your emotions, all those things will really emotionally damage you in a very big way. So, Kelly, how would you say, how did you deal with your emotions and feelings growing up?
I would say pretty well. I would say I probably matured quite young. Yeah. Yeah.
Julio?
I got to admit, when I was younger, I had pretty much normal teen issues, and I was an angry little boy. But what stopped me and taught me a bit more about how to deal with my issues was the military. When I joined the military, they actually pretty much train it into you that you got to be a certain way and have to deal with certain things different ways apart from being angry. So yeah.
Great. What about Mark?
Yeah. Mark?
Variety of things, I think. I don't know whether I'm a great one at being rejected, but obviously you've got to handle the good and bad in life, and things do happen. So, it's been an up and down journey, but I think it's okay. But yeah, it's not something I'd like to get used to, being rejected. That's for sure. But what about our listeners? I mean, you're hearing us. We're giving all tonight. It's great to hear this stuff, and Katinda, great questions. But love to hear the comments of our listeners. Get involved in the conversation. Be a bit vulnerable. Be lovely to hear from you. Katinda's asking some great questions. She's got some great insights. And what about you, Katinda? You come from another country. You've come over here. You must have been a little bit vulnerable, a little bit thinking, I want to get some acceptance or some friends or connections.
You know, it's interesting because for me, I feel because I grew up with a very strong dad. My dad was in the military. So I got instilled a lot of confidence from a very young age. So for me, coming to Australia was another risk in life. It's something exciting. You know, I was open to the world. And I knew the world has, like you said, the good, the bad, and ugly. So there's a possibility you'll have people who don't like you, whatever. It doesn't matter. It's just part of life. So for me, I don't take anything personally whatsoever. It doesn't matter what it is, because I know if you do, you're hurting yourself. So I just roll with the punches. I don't really. And I just realized that when people do things to you because they're mean, it's their own trauma. It's things they haven't dealt with. It's their projection on you. So I know it's not about me. I'm aware of that. So I don't have to worry about whatever is they're going through and projecting back on me. So it's been quite an easy journey, only because I had that understanding from an early age.
I was just going to say that. Did you have that understanding when you were young, or is that something that you slowly learned over time?
No, young, because my dad was in the army and he was constantly disciplinarian, constantly telling us how to survive in the world and teaching us all these different life skills. Just, it's like almost combat at home. You're always ready for, if somebody says this, what do you do? Do you fight them? Do you say a kind word? So it started young. And maybe that's why when I look back, when you talked about how did I end up being an author and all these things, I think maybe I was already in the training, but I didn't know. But now I look back and I'm like, that was what this is.
Yeah.
I was ready, but I didn't know when I was ready until I was ready. So
really, really
That's
good.
fantastic, Katinda. Kelly, Daniel's made a comment. Why don't you read that out for us?
Yeah, and thanks, Daniel, for sharing. His wife and I share interests, but have different hobbies, so they have some commonality, but also go out separately all the time as well. Yeah, so the really interesting point that you touched on, Katinda, when you're saying, do people feel comfortable going to the movies by themselves? And Daniel's just shared that they share interests, but different hobbies.
yeah, it's, they do say that when you get into a relationship, it doesn't mean you lose yourself, because a lot of people tend to lose themselves and forget they're a person They were not a half a person. You know, there's people say half and half, complete. None of that. I think you're already a complete person. And when you come together, you're two complete people coming together to make it more powerful. So you're not missing anything. You're not a missing link. And then somebody suddenly is giving you a full. Yeah. So just moving on. So those are just questions that people ask themselves before they get into a relationship. So now we're going to dive deeper as to what are some of the things people need. Now, this is the single stage when you've got no one around. What are you doing for yourself? And what are you looking at for? So basically, I want to just say this one, because a lot of people tend to get confused with this. You won't be happy with a partner until you're happy on your own. So a lot of people in life, we're always thinking, when I get that job, I'll be happier. When I do this, I'll be happier. That does not work, because that never comes. It's always a disappointment. So it's always about, you have to build your self-awareness. You have to work on yourself, your self-esteem, your self-love. How do you value yourself? You need to validate yourself, because if you don't do that, and if you're not comfortable in your aloneness, being alone, how can you share with somebody else? Because you're going to be sharing misery. And this is why I find when people are toxic and they meet, it's just a matter of time before they explode and everything goes crazy, because they've not mastered a lot of things. They've not worked on themselves. Maybe they still have a lot of trauma, anger issues, whatever it is. And if you don't work on yourself, I don't think you're ready to be in a relationship. That's my take, because then you're just going to hurt somebody else and share misery. What is your take?
Yeah. And is that what you think, Katinda, when people go from relationship to relationship, for example? But what about on the other side, when it's either people go from relationship to relationship and they haven't had their time to work on themselves, or they've been single for a long time too, you know, and so they've lost that essence of actually, they've worked on themselves, but they've lost that essence of actually joining with someone else and learning to compromise or anything like that, to be together.
You have to learn, because I was one of those people. I've been single for nearly 10 years, and it's nearly impossible when you have other people, because now you have to remember there's sharing, there's collaboration, there's all those things. So it's really just getting yourself in the space and understanding that I want to be in this relationship. I have to make it work. What do I need to do? What are some of the things I need to focus on myself, and also getting feedback from the other person? Because I've been single for so long, when I go out, I'm a social person. I talk to people I know, and I forget that I was with someone. Until one day he told me off. And he goes, I went out with you and you're talking to everybody else. I'm like, yeah, that's what's been my life.
Yeah.
So if they don't pull you on it, I'll keep doing it, because that's what's normal to me.
And Mark, can you relate to that? Does that sound like you?
What, did I talk to everybody?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's getting the balance, isn't it? You know, like, I think going out by yourself too, and spending time by yourself is something that is a challenge to some extroverts, because extroverts don't often like talking to themselves. So when we go out, we like talking to people. So, and I'm a little bit extrovert, probably not as much as Katinda, but I am an extrovert. I'm on that side anyway. So look, it's an interesting thing. Chris has got a question, Cal.
How would you instill or inspire someone to be more confident when they find it hard to inspire themselves sometimes? Oh, that's a really good question, Chris.
I think that means you have to work with a coach to have an accountability partner, or find somebody who's got something you've got of interest. Let's say if you're trying to, let's say, for example, lose weight or do exercise or whatever, find people who've got similar interests, so you can motivate each other and you can hold each other accountable. Because I think sometimes with all of us, you always have to have somebody holding you accountable, or some sort of process that holds you accountable. Otherwise,
100% agree, actually, Katinda. In fact, after last week's show, we were talking about goal setting, and I messaged a common friend of the three of ours, and I said, right, let's hold each other accountable, and let's set ourselves goals, and we're going to catch up once a month on a Sunday evening. And she was like, right, okay, very determined. And, you know, so Mark, am I your accountability walking partner? Was that the one as well?
Yeah, we need to do some walking. The problem going walking with Kelly, of course, as I said last week, is that she's too fast and walks for too long. So if I can work out a way to get around that, I'll be right. But Kelly is super quick on the walking. It's very fit. I'd rather walk with Julio. He's a bit slower.
you just have to pick the pace a little bit. Challenge yourself a bit more.
So how are you finding these questions, Julio? Are you relating to them a bit?
Oh, I am actually. They're good questions, a bit thought-provoking, some of them, because you don't look at that part of your life very often. So
Mm.
especially either is a scenario when you're in a relationship, you don't really think about these sort of stuff. It's sort of, you take them for granted. But being in a single scenario, you just avoid them, to be quite honest. I think that's my view of it. So it's really good to actually listen in and get some tips.
Mm.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So another point here, this is one of the bitter lessons actually I learned about you can't change people. You know, when you're single and obviously in that space you're working yourself, maybe you want to meet someone. There's always been that thing. A lot of people get involved with people they don't like a lot of things about them. Maybe they smoke, they drink too much. You know, there's just things about them you don't like. But then you kill yourself by thinking, when I get together with this person, I will change them. That does not exist and that does not happen. People will change because they want to for themselves. They will not change for you. Because if they do it, they're going to do it for a short while. And then after a while, they'll go back to whatever that was because they were not motivated enough. So that's, for me, it's been the biggest learning that if you find people in a certain way, if it's not your thing, just keep walking. It doesn't work. Yeah, Kelly, what are your thoughts
It's
on
what
that?
I was saying, isn't it? You can lead a horse to water, but you can't force them to drink.
That's right. That's right.
Mm.
Have you had an experience where that kind of thing has happened to you?
Oh, all the time. All the time. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. 100%.
Julio?
And what do you do, Kel, when you find a horse that's not drinking the water?
Well, you get them to see the cardiologists themselves. They come back and say, "Oh, well, actually, Cal, the cardiologist told me X, Y, and Z," and I said, "Oh, can I charge $3.50 per hour for that as well? Thank you." Yeah, that's what you do.
All right.
There
Well,
you go.
Kel's, yeah, good on you, Kel. You're good out there. I'm sure other people have got some different experiences out there. We'd love to hear from you tonight. And Katinda, it's just great going through all these questions. Have you got another one for us?
Now, before we continue, I just wanted, like Kelly was saying before about finding someone and all this stuff. The truth is, I used to believe, like most people, you're looking for Mr. Right or Mrs. Right or wherever, but then we forget that what that person you're looking for, are you that person? It's almost like you're looking for yourself, someone in yourself. But we go looking for somebody who's perfection to whatever standards we set that to. But are we in that state as well? Are we actually a good person mentally, emotionally, spiritually, everything, and ready to allow somebody to come in because you're in a good space? So there's a lot of that dysfunction where people are always looking for something better, but they're not better themselves. So that's just a one thing. And it's all about obviously working on yourself constantly. And do you have the qualities you want in a lover? It's up to you.
Yeah.
And we need to think about, like Julio said, we don't think about these things. We just get attracted to people. We just hang out and we think, oh yeah, and things will fall into place. But most of the time, the most important things are always left out. Yeah. So
And I think that's a really, really good point, Katinda. Really making sure that you're in that space, or what, how are you perceived as well? Because you may be thinking, oh, you're doing this or doing that, but actually you're looked at quite differently.
are you a good catch? That's what it is. And it's always good to be irresistible. So be such a happy human being, spiritually, mentally, just work on yourself that when people meet you, everybody wants to be in your space because you just vibrate positivity and nice, good vibration and energy. That's so important.
I
So
think
moving forward,
I think Julio's irresistible. What do you think, Julio? Do you think you're a bit irresistible there, mate?
Am I irresistible? I'm not sure if I'm irresistible. Irritable or irresistible?
irresistible.
What do you think, Kel? Do you think you're irresistible?
No.
No?
I
should,
think,
Kelly, you should, because you are irresistible. Like, don't you think, Katinda? We're all irresistible. We should be in our mindset, yeah.
We should be all in our element, of course. But then, of course, we know you know your own truth. You know how much work you need to do for yourself. Nobody else can see that. We can all see everybody looks perfect, but only you know who you are, right? So we'll just quickly move because I guess in the interest of time.
Just before we do, Bree's got a little question there, Kelly.
Okay.
yeah, and I think it really ties in with what Chris was saying earlier as well. What are some good ways to work on yourself so you can be in a relationship?
It's coming. Hold on.
Look out.
Hold
Look
on.
out.
All right, Julio, don't jump the gun there, Julio.
Yeah, I know.
And maybe we should be using Mr. Mark Watt as a case study, Katinda, as well.
No, we've already designated 2 people. Katinda can't handle more than 2 case studies, and you guys got more than enough case studies tonight. I'm sort of hosting with Katinda, and we've got you 2 as our case studies. I think that works really well.
Don't escape. Don't escape.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's move on to the next part. This is now we're talking about relationships. So you've attracted love, you've worked on yourself. Now you've got someone, you're in a relationship. It takes 2 to tango. That's one thing people forget. It's never a one-sided thing. And it takes 2 to tango. You get in a place, you help each other grow. So once you're there, what are the guidelines? What are the rules for you to follow so you can have peace, love, and harmony and all those beautiful things? So I'm only talking about 2 things, but there's so many things. This is just a short because we could be talking for hours. And the first thing, I like to call it a rule, is obviously don't stop having date nights. A lot of people hook up and they forget. They think now we've got each other, and you stop working at the relationship. And the relationship will only be successful if both of you are constantly working on it. So once you stop seeing the person, complimenting, doing things with them, and all these things, and assume things are not right, are just perfect, you're heading for downhill. So that's one thing. And because we're talking about Valentine's is coming up, so this is something now to introduce that Valentine theme. It's coming to Valentine. What are you going to do as a date night? And if you do a date night, is this going to be the starting point of a new, exciting time for you? Because if you haven't been on dates for a while because you've let things stagnate, this is time to rekindle. Book that date, Valentine. Start that process again. What are your thoughts, Kelly?
Oh, absolutely. I am looking forward to going on a lovely date, 100%.
So do you have a date?
Not yet.
Okay.
Okay, we can fix that up tonight. We need to get a date. And, what are you doing on Julio? You got a date for Valentine's night?
No date for me for Valentine's.
Okay, all right. There's 2 live examples tonight, but Valentine's Day. So, what would you say if you're single? What should you be doing now, Katinda? Would you think that someone like Kelly or Julio should be asking someone out or waiting?
You know what? It depends. Not everybody celebrates. For me, I believe Valentine's is just a benchmark of a day in the year, just like Christmas and everything else. I think life as is love every day for us. First with us, we are love. All of us, we're sitting here, we're all love, right? But then we're sharing that love with somebody else. So I think Valentine's is not really a benchmark for people who have partners. It can be even friends. You can go out at a date as girlfriends, as mates. It doesn't matter. It's just experiencing the day and being present in that day. And just maybe affirming love for each other, like, oh my gosh, I really love you because you've been my friend for 20 years, whatever. It's not only for partners, lovers, it's for everybody.
I think it's
about I'll go out with Julio on Valentine's
yourself and get dressed up, put some makeup on, and go. Actually, I'm gonna keep doing this.
And wear a red dress.
Julio, will you be my Valentine?
Would I be your Valentine? Okay, Mark, we could be each other's Valentines.
All right, I'm going to go out with Julio on Valentine's night.
Yeah, why not? Why not? So
we've got a couple of messages here, Cal, and so one quick one from Christopher again. He's really dominating tonight.
Yes, and thank you,
really keen. I think you've started something here, Katinda.
Learning to be more open and vulnerable once. So how does he also be more open and vulnerable once you do have a partner? And Daniel's also put, if it is a partnership, if you can't be vulnerable with them, when can you? That's a really good point.
Yeah, being vulnerable, I guess you have to trust them for starters.
100%.
Because if you don't trust, because the biggest thing in relationship is trust. If you can trust people, then you can be vulnerable. If you don't trust them, it's hard to open up. So you have to build the trust. And this is where it comes. One of the other rules I have, it's about knowing people. It's about get to know people for at least 4 seasons. Don't rush it. A lot of people meet and in a week, 2 weeks, they're trying to make things happen so quickly. There is no way you would ever know people a little bit more in a week or 2, or even 2 months. So always recommend get to know someone for 4 seasons before you can make any real life decisions that are really going to impact you. Because then in 4 seasons, you've got 12 months at least.
That's a really
There's
good
a lot of things you can do.
Because, sometimes you sort of think about summer compared to winter. Some people hibernate in winter. Some people go out every night in summer, and you sort of get to know what their patterns are, or meeting family, friends, everything like that.
I think it's a frequency, like if you're seeing people a lot, if you're seeing someone new and you're spending a lot of time, you're learning them all the time. And really it's about questioning, ask each other questions. There's so many questions people can ask, and nothing's out of bounds. Just ask anything, because you need to be free to be able to know what you need to know. Because then if you don't find out from the beginning, and then you're 3 months in and you find, oh, I can't deal with this is a deal breaker, then what happens?
Yeah, exactly. I think Bree's question and Chris is actually tying quite nicely, Katinda, where Bree is saying what are some good ways to work on yourself so you can be in a relationship. But then also where Chris is also saying, how can you be more open and vulnerable and trusting once you do have a partner? So do you think it's that first step of working on yourself, to get into a relationship, and so that then when you can be a lot more open and vulnerable?
That's true. Yeah. Because if you know yourself, it again goes back, who are you? Do you know who you are? What are your triggers? I like to sort of, again, there's so many questions that people need to ask themselves. There's questions like, are you still hurting? Who's hurting you? Who's, all those things. And have you worked on yourself? Who needs forgiveness? There's so much depth in this. And if you don't work on yourself in that way, you'll still be carrying a lot of baggage to the relationship. And you'll also be afraid to open up and say some certain things because it's an experience you've had and you think that the person might not be able to accommodate it or accept it. So it's really asking yourself some really deep questions. I know it's very difficult looking in the mirror, confronting yourself. And this is why, as a coach, and how you asked about before, Kelly, about the passion, it's those kind of conversations that I like to have and help people with, because a lot of people don't know where to start. They don't know how to love themselves. I mean, that word, love yourself, I never used to understand it until I got into it. It's not just buying good clothes or going out. Love yourself is thinking. It could be, what are you doing for your mind? What are you reading? What are you eating? Are you eating the right food? There's so many things. So moving forward, now this is critical for while in a relationship. It's about we know that most relationships fail because of lack of intimacy. Now, when I talk about intimacy, I talk about you hear people saying, oh, I don't feel seen, or nobody listens to me. All those kind of things, that's intimacy. And what here I want to talk about really just quickly is, the truth is most people are deprived of touch, which is really the biggest thing for everybody. And they usually say if a baby is not touched when they're little, they can actually die. So what does that say? As a human being, even when you're stressed, you can self-touch yourself. It doesn't have to be somebody else all the time. And they say, especially women, we need to be hugged and all those things to reduce stress. So this brings me to love languages. I don't know whether you guys know anything about the love languages. Again, touch is one of them. And I think a lot of people love to be touched because that's how you connect with the other person. And can be just holding hands. It's nothing else. Holding hands, just hugging, basic, things. You're watching TV together. What are you guys doing? Lying on each other, just making sure you're both present in the moment.
Can you go through those 5 love languages for our listeners and viewers out there, Katinda?
Okay. So the first one is touch. And it's not in any order. It's just what is these words of affirmation. Some people like to be told, oh, you look beautiful today. Oh, I'm so proud of you. Some people like gifts. A lot of people like gifts. That's another love language. And now with the love languages, obviously, I feel from my experience with my relationship right now, I ask the questions. What makes you feel loved? What do I need to do to make sure that you feel loved? Do you like gifts? That's number one. Do you like to be touched? Do you like affirmations? Are you acts of service? Some people like when maybe, for example, taking the rubbish out. That's acts of service, right? Some people like that. So it's just getting used to what is it that the person likes so that you can fulfill their love tongue. Because at the end of the day.
Julio,
yes.
What's your love languages, mate? What do you like, mate?
Me, I fit into the large 70 to 80% category of men, which is touch and affirmation.
Yeah, of course.
Touch and affirmation.
So,
what about you, Kel?
Quality time.
Quality time. Okay.
Oh yes.
I'm a bit of a Julio there. I like affection and affirmation, but quality time is also very important. Katinda, what's yours?
Oh, my number one is quality time. Oh,
Mm.
yes. Quality
Mm.
time and gifts. I'm a girl. We like
Yeah.
gifts.
Exactly. We're women. We like gifts.
Yeah, but the thing is, most of us like all of them. We're not just saying
Yeah.
focus on one or the other. It's just what is your number one preferred. Like if somebody did this to you, you'd be in heaven because you're like, oh, they do what I like. So there's a lot of that. So the love languages is very critical, I think, when people get into a relationship and think they're going to be together. I think that's a question you need to ask each other. How do you want to be loved? How can I show you love? What is it when I do, you feel good about yourself? Because if you don't get that right, no matter what you do, you'll always be doing the opposite thing. And that's why people say, I've done everything, nothing is right. Because you're doing all these good things, but it's not their love language. So you're disconnecting. And that's, if even when you think of friends and people, you hear people saying, I've done everything to this girl or this man, and he's still not happy. Guess what? You're disconnecting because you haven't asked the question, what do I need to do for you to feel loved?
I was just going to say, how do you find that out? But I guess it's just being straightforward, isn't it? And saying,
just ask the question. That's what I do. I just go, what makes you feel loved? And I talk about the love language. Somebody goes, I like to be touched. Okay, where do you want to be touched? And we're talking, this is appropriate, like in public kind of thing, not in private. You ask the question so the person knows that you really care because you want to know what pleases them.
Yeah, we've asked the question, Katinda, and Chris has said that he's an all-rounder. So there's probably a few all-rounders out there. He likes a bit of everything. So he's not greedy. He just likes it all.
Yeah.
And I think Daniel also had a really good question as well. In terms of that trust, going back to that trustworthy part, when your partner is vulnerable, how do you react? Do you think it's about really sort of allowing them to be able to share? Do you think it's about actually linking into that love languages of finding out what their way is so that they will feel respected and that they can be vulnerable with you?
I think so. Because if, let's say that person's love language is quality time, what happens in quality time? You're speaking, you're talking, but you have to be a good listener. Don't listen to respond, listen to just be there. Because especially females, we don't always speak because we want to, guys always want to solve the problem. Sometimes we just want to talk and just get somebody just listening. And of course, sometimes you can pretend to listen even if you're not. You're still giving me what I want. It doesn't matter. So,
so you're right. I think communication is so important, and communication is talking and listening, isn't it? So I think practicing those two things in your relationships, whether they're relationships with your partner or your kids or, even here on the radio, like anywhere, any relationship you've got, work or home, communication, so important.
Yes, I think that is it. That's the benchmark for anything in life. Communicate clearly and with clarity. And I think also the thing with communication, especially on our women part, we tend to assume that the other person should know what you want or need and get angry over things they don't understand. And that's a very common thing with us women. And what I usually say when I speak with women, I say, just communicate clearly. Say what you want. Because a man is not a rocket scientist. He's not going to, he might kind of know, but he will not get it right. And that's where the love language gets disconnected. Because if he brings you a gift because you're upset and maybe you just wanted a hug, what the hell? Just communicate. I just want a hug. Boom, get it. Everybody's happy. But
so
we have to.
With all these questions that we started off with, and to find about relationships and what we want to be working on. What tools do you work with clients and what tools can we use ourselves? Do we write these questions down and keep a journal? Do we ask fellow friends? What advice would you give to our listeners and viewers?
A journal is the best way to do it because at least you can keep a record and analyze yourself, see how your growth pattern is. Because when you write a journal is kind of simple, but most people can't do it because it's consistency. You're going to be consistent. If you decide you're going to do once a day, make it once a day. I always suggest maybe 5 minutes before you go to sleep, just go through your thoughts, what happened in the day. And it can just be as simple as a gratitude journal. You don't have to go so far, just a gratitude journal. It's so simple. And I've got one of those on my website as well, because I know if you don't practice gratitude, your life is never going to be exciting. Because when you're grateful, life just seems to flow. Even if things are not going out the right way, you seem to sort of handle the situation really good. But when you're not grateful, everything is wrong. Like I'll give you a quick example. Somebody hit me on somebody hit my car when it was raining the other day, and I was listening to something about forgiveness, which I'm about to talk about in the next little segment. And because he hit my car, I stopped, and everybody who came out of the car started yelling at him. And I was just calm. And one of the ladies said to me, "Are you not upset?" I said, "No." I said, "Nobody died." And they're like, "Oh." Because they're waiting, because I was the one who got hit, so I should be yelling, screaming. I'm like, no. It's not necessary. You're yelling at the kid. He's going to have to drive home. You're confusing his energy. So he's going to have maybe another accident after this. What for? It's happened. Let's just deal with it. And so it's just learning how to also calm yourself. It's don't always react. Just respond to things calmly, because at the end of the day, we're all human. We make mistakes.
Okay, don't forget it's 98.9 Northwest FM. It's Community Heart Radio. We've got about another 5 or so minutes on the show. We've just had a great time with Katinda. We've solved all the relationship problems. Just got a couple of more things we're going to cover off. And Julio and Kelly, they're just going to be amazing on Valentine's Day after tonight.
Okay, so going last but not least, how do you end your relationship respectfully? Because that's really important. Everything that starts has an end, right? So I like to say, really, number one, think about yourself and your partner, your
Hang on, continue. Just before you go, you've just said everything that starts got an end. I mean, you're in a relationship. You're not thinking that's going to end. I mean, you want that forever.
Well, we can only hope it's forever, but we know when the time comes, if that happens, people should be ready with the right tools to be able to end it respectfully. It's not bulletproof. Anything can happen. People change.
Okay.
You can't force anything. Yeah. So
but you're not sitting there planning for it to end. You're thinking it's going to go forever, but just in case it ends, you're ready.
Yes. It would just have to be real about these things. I mean, we know, we've seen it through our own experiences, through everybody else. So we know everything has a time. Yeah. And we have to be real about it. It can happen. No matter how good a relationship is, somebody can snap and think, oh, this is not for me anymore. Something's changed. So what I like to say here, people have to learn how to really protect each other's self-esteem, because once you break up, a lot of times the self-esteem is the first thing that takes a hit. And then what happens? You take such a long time to recover from this. And the whole idea here is, obviously, the big challenge is to forgive when you're hurting. Because, if whatever's happened to cause the split, people are very bitter. But how can you forgive while you're hurting? That's something people need to work on. It's not easy, but you need to learn how to do that, because forgiveness sets you free. That's something I don't want to sound like a preacher, but that's the truth. So what I know for sure, for me, I realize when relationship comes to an end, it's actually a gift. It's not that bad, because it's a gift. Because now if you self-reflect, you're going to look at what didn't work, what can I do to improve in the future, what part did I contribute, because it's not always about the other person, it's also about yourself, and what you look at so that you don't repeat next time. Because sometimes it's things that we don't pay attention to, and it's not always pointing fingers at the other person. Sometimes it's yourself too. So really protecting your self-esteem for me is number one. When your relationship is coming to an end, talk to the other person, work together. I know sometimes it's impossible, but that's the only way to play this game, because it takes two to tango. You're not in it alone. It takes two to tango. So I actually wanted to, there's this song, it says, it takes two, baby. It takes two, baby. Just you and me. Yeah, it takes two to tango. So yeah, so that's one thing. But the other one also is also saying that people should not drag everybody else into their mess, because again, it's your mess. You need to try to clean it out yourself. Seek help if you need to, but don't make it a circus, because a lot of people do make it a circus, and it takes so long to heal from these things, because everybody's involved, and it's not everybody's problem. It's 1-2 people. Yeah. So yeah. Any questions?
Well, thanks, Katinda. We're just going to wind up the show soon, but I want to end it on a positive note, because we're coming up to Valentine's Day, and all these relationships are going to happen. I've got a big date with Julio. There's a whole lot going on. Let's just have a think about 5 quick things that you want to share with our listeners in a proactive way that's going to make their life fulfilled going forward after Valentine's Day.
And not just after Valentine's Day, I'm just going to interrupt there. But like you were saying, Katinda, so they're in a good space to be able to enter a healthy and happy relationship as well.
Yeah.
For 2023.
So Mark, what is your question again?
Oh, let's just have 5 things to stay in that good place. That good place, because if you're in the good place, everything's good going to happen. You know what I mean? And so how can you stay in a good place going forward? What would be your 5 little quick tips? We've got a few minutes.
Number 1, self-love. Work on yourself. Invest in yourself. That one goes without saying. Number 2, if you've got a partner, find out what their love language is. That's critical.
All right, let's just slow down a sec. Hang on, Julio's typing these in. So the first one is love yourself. Second one is find out your love languages. And
love languages.
We're not all like Chris. Chris wants all the love languages, and but not everyone wants all of them. And what's number 3?
Number 3, make sure if you're in a relationship, date nights. Make sure date nights are critical. You have to go on your dates. You have to create times for you.
Right, the date nights. Okay. What's been one of your good date nights, Katinda? What do you like doing on your date night?
I like walking on the beach, holding hands.
There you go.
Lovely. And get that quality time, physical touch.
That's love language
all in one.
right there.
Yeah.
And it's best to do it at night, like when it's a full moon, the stars are out. It's amazing. It's kind of very romantic, really.
Right.
Are you romantic?
Okay. Number 4, communicate clearly. Ask for what you want. Don't let people try to guess what your needs are.
I like that one. Like that one. Good
especially
communication,
for us
open.
females.
Yep. Don't forget us men are a little bit dumb, so you got to make it really clear.
No, you're not. You are.
No,
not.
you're very simple, actually. No, you're not.
Simple.
You're
We're
very
simple.
simple.
Simple and dumb. But
You're repeating it.
So just treat us that way, and then we'll be fine. That's great. You got that one, Julio?
Yep.
Simple and dumb.
And the last one, I'll give you this statement. Love is the oxygen of life. It's what we all want and need and must have to have a fulfilled, blissful, and meaningful life. So
well, it's been a wonderful
there,
show, Katinda. I've just loved having you on the show again. So good. Julio, just quickly run us through Katinda's top 5 tips for tonight.
Okay. Number 1, self-love. Number 2, love language. Number 3, date nights, very important. Number 4, communicate clearly. And number 5, love is the oxygen of life.
Fantastic. And Kelly, what do you think of tonight? What do you get out of it tonight?
I think I really like the start when Katinda was sharing about those things that you need to take a step back and reflect on, to really think what it is that you want and what you're looking for. So I really enjoyed that. Thank you, Katinda.
And Julio, what did you get out of it tonight, apart from a date with me on Valentine's night?
I got that we need to work really hard on a date night. We got a lot of things to get through and talk about. So for me, very good points. I haven't really thought about that. Like I said, you don't really think about that when you're single and by yourself and living your own personal life. So really thanks for that, Katinda. Very open conversation.
Fantastic. Katinda, your final word to our listeners who've really enjoyed the show?
Go love yourself. Go love yourself. That's the only way. Yes.
Great. Well, we're going to see you guys all next week. Thanks for coming and enjoy your weekend. And next Tuesday night, Julio and I will be very romantic.
I'm keen to hear more. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Katinda.
Thank you. Thank you. Nice seeing everybody. Bye for now.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us this evening. Tune in every Wednesday evening at 8 p.m. or watch us on YouTube, Facebook, and follow us on LinkedIn and other social media.